Welcome to the 2717 podcast. I'm Javier, an authentic wedding filmmaker.
And I'm Ashley, a passionate wedding photographer.
We're here to bring Proverbs 2717 to the wedding industry. As iron sharpens iron,
so one person sharpens another. In this fun series, we're all about sharing experiences and building a community.
Expect heartfelt stories, creative inspiration, and some amazing behind-the-scene moments.
Plus, insights from some truly inspiring guests.
Tune in to connect with us, spark your creativity,
and be a part of a supportive community.
You're listening to the 2717 podcast.
We're thrilled to record our podcast in the beautiful studio provided by Love K Collective, where self-love meets stunning photography. If you're looking to celebrate your unique beauty through empowering portraits, boudoir, or maternity shoots, Kayla offers an experience that's as uplifting as it is professional. Visit lovekcollective.com to book your session today and capture the essence of you. A big thank you to Love K Collective for supporting our creative journey.
Welcome to 2717 podcast. I'm Javier.
And I'm Ashley, and welcome back to today's episode where we are really going to break down the comparison game and give you our best tips and tricks on how to get over that game and really focus on your goals and, why you are called to the wedding industry.
Absolutely. And the comparison game, you can easily fall trapped to it.
Easy.
We all do it. Doesn't matter if you're in the weddings or you're in a different space. We're always looking at people that inspires us and we want to be more like them.
Definitely.
But the thing is that we can't fall into that trap.
No.
We can't allow others' success to find our own success and our own goals and how we measure up.
Exactly.
It's about us finding that within ourselves and setting our goals and expectations. But let's see
Definitely.
what it means really comparing yourself to another.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to sit down and really define what the comparison game is. The comparison game is the act of comparing oneself to others, often focusing on their strengths while ignoring one's own, and even comparing one's worst to one's best. And I really love that definition because we all have strengths, we all have weaknesses, and social media is a highlight game. It's a highlight reel of all of your best moments, the best photos from a wedding day, photographer-wise, the best footage from a videographer standpoint. And, it's only the highlights. It's only the good. You know what I mean? No one ever focuses on the bad. So when you're going through bad seasons, when you're having that time where, you're slow or anything like
the
that.
Creative juices aren't flowing.
Yeah, the creative juices aren't flowing. And, you're constantly seeing everyone in this glorious light, successful, happy, everything. It can lead to some pretty self-destructive behaviors.
And the truth is, they may not even be happy at all.
Exactly.
We're all humans. We have our ups and downs. We're not a constant state of emotion all the time, and it fluctuates.
Exactly.
And one of the ways I've learned just in the beginning is, one, just to set my goals. Set your definitions of what your goals are for your business, for your life, and what you're looking to accomplish. But be reasonable, but also have compassion for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Circle back to those goals too. Like write them on your mirror. Write them where you can see them every day. You know what I mean? And circle back to those moments because, what do you do when you wake up? You go and check your phone.
Yeah.
Maybe let's pick up a book. Let's start listening to a podcast. Let's do something other than, constantly like fueled by social media or like going right to your phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I've faced this before in the past, and having my wife, who was a mental health therapist, who helped me through those seasons of my life where it's like, hey, I was just comparing myself not to others, but actually my own expectations of not meeting those expectations, because the root of that expectation wasn't set of what I wanted. It was actually set because of what others accomplished.
Yeah.
And that led me to write that goal.
100%.
And then I had to reflect back. And I'm like, wait, is this
something I really want? Or is it something that everybody else is doing?
Exactly. And a lot of us end up doing that.
Definitely.
And I think that's what's so important, to self-reflect and understand your own values of why you're in this business. The values of what you're having for your life in terms of your family, if you have kids or you don't, or just your spouse, or even just for yourself as an individual, but then also for your business.
Yeah.
And we easily fall into that trap on the business side when we see others having glory and success. And it doesn't mean that just because you're constantly posting or constantly getting tons of likes and comments that, one, they're happy, but two, it's actually success, because your own success is defined by what your own goals that you set for yourself.
Definitely. So I feel like making your goals a priority and really reflecting back on them daily, like make daily goals, even make daily goals, monthly goals, yearly goals, and then reflecting on those, and instead of grabbing goals from what you see on social media.
And it's just important to honestly set really good boundaries.
Ooh,
like
that's
it's
a good one
good
too.
to
Yeah, you gotta set your boundaries,
and
y'all.
like it's good to explore, TikTok and IG reels and
yeah, and it's fun, it's
look
entertaining.
exactly. Look at people that you are inspired by and look at their beauty, what they do, but also understand the gift that God gave you.
Definitely.
Because your gift could be completely different. The way you see things is different from that other person.
Yeah, we are all created uniquely. We all have our own creative eye, which is the beauty of us all being creatives. We could all walk into one room and take photos of completely different things in completely different ways, use different lenses to capture different feelings and emotions.
It's like if I give you a camera right now, you're going to use it completely different the way I would use it.
1,000,000%. And not even just like your creative eye that's uniquely to you, but your processes, your client experience, and your work ethic is all based on who you are and how you want to run your business.
Absolutely. And it's a beauty thing when you get to have your own business. There's a reason why, as a creative,
we're fueled by that.
Exactly, right? It's so funny because I've talked to a lot of creatives.
Yeah.
Myself personally, I'm a type A in that sense. Like I like business first, and then I'm
the other way around. I'm the creative first and the business owner second.
Yeah, and like I learned to be more of like, okay, I am an artist. I can create. I'm not just providing always a service, and that's been like an interesting thing for me because I always look at analytics and numbers. This is what I want to accomplish.
Yeah.
But now it's like, okay, what is it with the art? I'm also trying to create an impact, right? Like there's a reason obviously couples hire me. It's not just because I'm good at what I do, but it's because like, oh, wow, I like the way he sees my wedding or the way how he tells the stories of other couples' weddings. And that's the beauty of it. It's like,
that's the beauty of, you being your own brand. Yeah. And yourself.
And you get that feedback from your couples, which it's going to help reevaluate and not evaluate, but set the foundation of who you are as a creative to not fall into the trap into that comparison game. Yeah. Meaning if like, hey, Javier, oh, he's so compassionate. I can tell he has a passion for filmmaking. He's such a great person. Or Ashley, hey, you bring so much energy to this wedding that the experience was just so much fun. Yeah. You were attentive to the detail. Hey, that lets you know these are your skill sets, your attributes.
Yeah, and then playing into those.
Exactly. Lean on to those for each and every single wedding. Your messaging and your marketing. And honestly, setting the boundaries like, hey, that person that I look up to is so amazing and they're great at what they do. I'm not there with them every single day to know what their processes are like. And I appreciate the art that they're creating and inspires me.
Yeah.
But for myself, I'm not going to let my own emotions fall into the trap of
if you're feeling that self-doubt, if you're feeling that comparison, then, why are you putting value into them when all they're giving you is negativity in your own mind? Like not from their point of view, of course, but, if all they're doing is just giving you these negative thoughts of why can't I be like that? Yep. And, how can I be better? Like, or whatever it is.
And we're not putting down to the people that you look up to because those are inspirations, but it's our own selves to make sure that we keep our mindset and feelings in check when
and keep it real to us.
Exactly. When we're looking at the work and like, hey, if every time you look at the work, it doesn't inspire you to be good and it just keeps self-doubt, mute them.
Yeah. Don't put value into them.
Exactly. And it's, again, not to the creative.
It's
for your own mental health and emotional health where it's like, hey, you remove them from sight out of mind. Now you can just focus on your own things and set boundaries too on creatives. Like, hey, remove notifications, remove things that's going to cause those emotions.
Yeah. Even like turn off social media for a week. Yeah. Like, I know that's so, like
counterintuitive for your business.
Exactly. Like schedule out your posts for the week and then delete Instagram, get rid of it. Like really focus, take time to self-reflect who you are in your business, what you want to achieve, look to God and like really see where his hand is placing you for things. And then you can, come back stronger, more built up in your faith, more built up in your business. And I think it'll benefit a lot. I've done that recently and I've just been like, I need to step away. I need to like not look at my phone 24/7. I get my annual weekly report for how long I'm on my phone. I'm on my phone like 13 hours a day.
Wow.
That's insane.
You
got to turn it off.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not healthy. It's not healthy for anybody to be on there like this all the time.
Yep. Well, tell me as a
phone.
photographer, right?
Sure.
Like, I think that's such a competitive industry.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it is for video too, but like, especially photos, I feel
Yeah.
like there's way more photographers than there are videographers.
Yeah.
But like, how is it if, for example, your feed and your business feed right now, is it majority couples or is it majority other photographers? Like, what does that look like?
Oh, yeah, I would say my business Instagram feed, like my discover page, like my homepage, is
Mm-hmm.
mostly other photographers.
Mm.
And I say that all the time. I'm like, I look at weddings 24 hours a day. Like whenever I'm on my Instagram, whenever I'm scrolling through Instagram, I'm looking at other photographers' stories and other photographers' weddings.
Mm.
And it is so easy to get caught up in that game. It's so easy to be like, to honor other photographers and be
Yeah.
like, oh, your work is so amazing, and just like then putting your self-doubt of like, am I good enough to be here?
Mhm.
Should I be doing this in, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
why don't my photos look like that? Why don't, anything, my
second-guessing
editing, my
everything.
editing, everything, it turns into a spiral. Like it starts from like, oh, this wedding's so beautiful, this photographer did such a good job, and it tumbleweeds so quickly, especially the more you scroll.
You know what's crazy? Like, it wasn't until maybe the past year where I was kind of introduced to more filmmakers, because in the beginning when I first kind of started, I thought I knew it all type of thing. And,
Yeah.
the ego kind of gave me a protection in the sense that the only persons I follow was couples.
Yeah.
And the only thing in my feed was couples that was popping up.
Yeah.
And I never knew of other certain creatives or people in the industry
Yeah.
because I wasn't looking out to do what they did. I was trying to figure out what's my own voice and my own
Yeah.
thing. Until recently, where I decided to follow other creatives, which
Yeah.
is a benefit and
It's
is
such
a plus.
benefit. Yeah.
Because it shows like, wow, there's so many talented people out there.
Yeah.
They're creating beautiful
Show their
things.
gifts, and
Yeah, and
and you can honor their gifts as well.
Exactly, and doing great things. And luckily for myself, since I started in that fashion,
Yeah.
I was able to kind of protect myself mindset in that way.
That's a very interesting perspective.
However, though, like that's more on the creative side.
Yeah.
But on the business side of my mind, there were people I was always comparing myself to.
Yeah.
Like I still follow like, hey, there's a lot of influencers, not in the own wedding industry space, but other space in terms of business. I like business people or business orientated people where, hey, they're doing successful and they're giving a lot of value and strategies. And then you're trying to compare it. How can I apply it to my industry?
Mhm.
That was where I was having troubles, where I was like, man, like I'm not doing $1 million a year
Yeah.
doing wedding
Yeah.
films. And I'm seeing this guy
There's so many.
crushing it.
Yeah.
And at that point was, that was more the business mind of myself,
Yeah.
not the artistry mind.
Yeah.
Just comparing myself in that aspect.
Yeah. Kind of circling back to what you said, I think it's really interesting that you said when you first started, you
Yeah.
had the ego from like the client. Like, it's like, shouldn't that be the other way around? Like, how did we get here? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? How did we get to this point where like, because I feel like I kind of had that too, of like, I maybe had more couples, like I was cheaper
Yeah.
then, you know what I mean? You get a lot, you're doing more shoots for free. You're doing, all of this stuff to like kind of get off your feet, and like
Yeah.
really, you have this ego of like, oh, I just started my business and I'm going to be so good and everything like that. And how do we, more years of experience go by and we're in this tumbleweed of like, I'm not good enough now.
Yeah.
What? Like, shouldn't it be the other way around? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like when you're just entering an industry, you should maybe have that mindset of like,
Yeah.
oh, am I good enough to be here? And as you get more years of experience and you grow and you learn, then I guess the
Yeah.
ego comes with that against yourself. Like,
Well, it's
you
funny.
against yourself.
No, I agree. And honestly, the way I see it for myself was I played sports in high school.
Yeah.
And I had a competitive mindset.
Yeah.
And then just training and doing things like, hey, we're here to compete against one another.
I feel that.
Not really be friends. And so when I first started, it was more like, hey, well, I'm not here to be friends. I'm here to compete against you
Yeah.
and take as much of the market as possible.
Yeah.
But then I quickly realized that, like, wait, I actually need to build a community in this industry because I'm going to need their help. And it's not like I can just always hire employees. I have the time to teach them and train them.
Yeah.
But I really had to invest in other talented people.
Definitely.
And that's where, the introduction of meeting more and more creatives. And
Yeah,
that's how that came about. But
I think that's another tip too, is just like really creating a cool vendor friendship circle, creating your circle, creating people who really genuinely support you, care about you, and want to see you succeed. And then you can give that to them back in return.
Exactly.
They're going to, build you up.
And keyword, genuine
Genuine
relationships.
for sure. I will say that I've been to a couple retreats and really
Mm-hmm.
found really amazing friendships in the photographer industry. And they're just friends that constantly support me, constantly are messaging me, commenting, liking my
Mm.
photos, and vice versa. And there's no better feeling than feeling supported,
Mm.
for sure. So
You know,
give some support to someone
I want to ask you a
today.
question too,
Yeah.
because this is really cool because you've gone to retreats.
Yeah.
You've done several of them.
Yeah, I love retreats. They're
And
the
I've
best.
never done none.
Yeah.
Not even one, not even 8 years.
Yeah.
And so I really want to get your perspective and mindset
Sure.
of, the value of you going to these retreats. You kind of hinted at it a little bit here just shortly, but
Yeah.
understanding like, hey, why is it so valuable to go on these retreats?
Yeah. There's my core three. There's the creative aspect of it. It's a really great creative outlet, especially if it's shoots that you're really interested in. And, if the host really takes their time and puts value into the shoots, it's always such a creative outlet to, create something that's so ideal and
Yeah.
so, perfect. So you say, like, you know what I mean? Something that like, you're just like, oh, this is the best. And then models are so easy to just like, you just kind of tell them what to do and they know what to do and all that stuff. So that's super fun, like a really fun creative outlet if you're in a creative rut, sorry. And then also the friendships that you gain through it all. Going on retreats, I met some really lifelong friends. Just meeting them one time in a different state. Like you travel with them, you're with them for 3 days straight and you're all in one house and you're sharing cars and you
It's
bond
cool
over
too,
things.
because it's the first time you met someone
exactly.
and they're not even from
and
your
then
same
then
home.
you're like besties instantaneously. And you create those really vital, genuine friendships that you're going to need throughout your business and throughout the industry. And then the third thing is the educational aspect of it. Usually the hosts are bigger photographers. They are more experienced. They're going to give you that knowledge, especially good hosts. I've done Bailey Reed's content days and she's phenomenal. She like genuinely cares about, answering your questions, helping people that are just starting out. And she really, like, her Utah retreat really changed my life. Like, it changed my business and for the better. And I mean, I've heard some retreat horror stories from, certain people. So definitely do your research on who your host is, because you want to make sure that they're planting seeds and really putting value into you as well. Like, you're investing money into this and you want to make sure you're getting things in return.
To follow up that question,
Sure.
Like my mindset when I first started this, and I never did the retreats, and it's been 8 years and I still haven't done one.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of blew up in the past year or two.
They sure have. And like they've been offering for wedding films. And for me, this is the business side. So anyone who is business orientated first, I always think about like, okay, creatively, it's really cool.
Yeah, but like, where's the return on investment?
Exactly. That's one of them, right? And then you hinted at the value you get in terms of the friendship community, and you get to fill that creative void. But then it's like, okay, how does this help on the business side for you?
Yeah.
Because you know what? I really want to challenge myself in the next year or two to try to do a retreat, and how to go about searching the right one that can give me a good investment return. It doesn't mean it has to be in money. It could be in the creative mindset, process, systems, or whatever it may be. But like, how do you go about that approach?
Yeah. Ooh, that's a really good question. I think that, seeing certain credibility is really important. Like making sure that they have like their own Instagram for their retreats, getting honest reviews from attendees, and seeing also some retreats are like content days where they just shoots for all day. And then some retreats are over a couple days, and some retreats include education. So it's just kind of seeing exactly what you want to gain from the certain retreat. Like the one in Utah was just a content day, and we just shot all day. We had to shoot in the morning, shoot in the midday, and then 2 in the evening. And there was no education onto it, like no teachings from anybody or anything. It was a little bit lower in price range. And then we all went out to brunch after, or the next day, and like the host kind of just like talked to us and was like, how's bookings going? Do you have any questions for me? Like, what can I answer for you? Like kind of that type of Q&A thing, which I really appreciated. But some have educational things too, where they like literally have like, you all sit down and you talk about certain topics and everything like that. So I feel like it's just really what you want to gain from it. And also getting those honest reviews too, because again, I've heard so many horror stories about like the shoots not having any details put into them. Like they're just a random couple in a random wedding dress. Like they have no, like the florals, like no one thought to do the florals, and then like the Airbnb wasn't what it was shown to be and stuff like that. So I feel like you just really, really have to do your research if you want to attend a retreat.
Oh, that's great. That's great there. I know I really want to do one for myself, to be honest, and join one, because
we should do one.
We should. Could be in the works. Who knows?
That'd be so much fun.
Because honestly,
they are just the best to just like really connect with other creatives, have that creative outlet, and, you know, really learn from other people, because my view on clients and my view on certain storytelling, how I pose, how I do my processing and stuff like that could be totally different for somebody else. And they could have found something that really clicked for them and could click for somebody else.
And honestly, I think in a way also helps build that community where when the comparison game does come around, you can have some honest conversations. I mean, having a community that's, you know, we will say like equally yoked, right? Like you can actually understand and comprehend one another and understand the business side and the artistry side can help in this aspect to reach out to like, hey, like let's have an honest conversation. I trust in you. I can confide and talk about the situation.
Definitely. And then those friendships are going to last for your whole seasons. You know what I mean? Like that. They don't just end at the retreat when you make genuine connections too. Like you can constantly be DMing them. You can constantly be talking and being like, hey, how's your wedding season going? Are you booking a lot? How's your inquiries going? Like how have you shot anything amazing recently? How's posing going? You know what I mean? So just like, it's that not just in the retreat aspect of things, but then like moving forward.
So to really ask a question, or last question on this retreats is, what's the most value you get from these retreats?
Oh, that's so hard. There's so many. I do them again for my top three. I love.
But which is like number one of the top three?
Of the top three. I don't know. I feel like it depends on what the shoots are, because sometimes I get really excited for like the actual creative aspect of it. I'm like, I need a creative outlet. I need, or even just like, if you want to shoot more weddings, like I've been loving the styled shoots that are like full wedding days now that they're coming out with. It's so helpful for especially starting out photographers and videographers of like, okay, we're going to start with details. We're going to do getting ready. It's like, it literally takes you through the whole wedding day, but in a content day, which is so much fun. Again, don't advertise those as real weddings, but, still, there's so much fun to just like get a portfolio going, you know, and honestly get those creative things, like things you want to try in shoots and in wedding days, you can try them out on a styled shoot, because you know, if you have a new lens or if you have a new whatever.
Well, this question is, doing these style shoots, besides the creative aspect, does it teaches you any like, hey, I can have this new approach to my system on an actual wedding day? Like either communicating to the client, like what other nuggets that you get from these retreats?
Is seeing how other photographers pose their couples, seeing how they communicate with their couples and make them feel more comfortable. Like you can kind of adapt to those things. But I would say those types of things definitely, like there's definitely a lot of little nuggets within styled shoots for sure. I mean, I feel like presenting them as a real wedding is a whole different topic on its own, and I know there's a lot of controversy around that, because, you know, obviously they're styled, they're not real, they're models, they're going to be way easier to pose than like a couple that has never taken photos before in their life. But it's definitely really fun to make genuine connections. I would say the genuine connection aspect of things is why I do a lot of them. And the creative aspect is definitely second.
That's awesome. Well, let me ask you, what's been the biggest investment into a retreat you've made?
Ooh, I'm going to Italy next year for my friend Danielle's content retreat, I guess, in Italy. She lives out there right now, and I'm so hype. So that would probably be my biggest investment. I decided after my first one that I was going to do one a year, just to like, you know, refuel that creative spark, connect with people, and all that stuff. So that's my one for next year, and I'm so excited.
What's the goal that you want to get out of this retreat?
I want to do more destination weddings. I want to do Europe weddings. I know that's very in right now though too, but I've always loved Europe. I've always loved traveling. Like, one of my favorite smells is the smell of airports. I love to travel so much. Just like, and everyone's always like, oh, the traveling's the getting from point A to point B is always the worst part. I'm like, that's my favorite part. I love getting from point A to point B, and then like actually exploring new cities and, you know, all of that fun stuff. And just like, again, I feel like I've talked about this before, but like Florida and their beaches, I'm like, if I have one more beach shoot, I'm gonna lose my mind. No, I love Florida beaches. They're beautiful. But when you get comfortable in the familiar, there's no challenge.
Yeah.
So I love traveling to different destinations to meet people, but also get a different scenery, seeing how that can play into a day and all of that stuff.
That's awesome. And I'm the same way too. Like, I personally don't like going to the same venue over and over.
Yeah, it can be exhausting. Like, how many different things can you do at one venue?
Exactly. And honestly, you just want to, I love going to new places. Honestly, is a real reason why I'm a wedding videographer, because I like to explore and I like to just meet new people.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be able to visit like the same venue in the calendar year, but not back to back to back.
But not back to back. Yeah. I would be exhausted. I feel like it's just like, you feel like you're like living deja vu over and over again.
Oh, absolutely. And then, to be honest, you're falling back to comparing yourself how you did the day before and the following day, especially you're going 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
But I do know that, hey, there's even photographers and videographers and planners that only work at that one venue.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I would love to hear a perspective on, you know, working at the same venue.
And
I guess there's comfortability in the familiar.
And the mindset too is well, you know, if the couple is paying for that look and for that venue, I can always replicate that and give that to them.
Exactly.
So
for sure.
I think that's an approach
honestly,
that they may have.
Comparing yourself to yourself is better than comparing yourself to somebody else too.
Exactly.
Like, it's way more healthy. I mean, I was a dancer growing up, and I feel like I always had that mindset. I was never really competitive with the people around me, because we would always be a team or a group, you know what I mean? But when we did solos and stuff, you are kind of competing against your friends. But I would always think of it like, I did so bad or I did so good in comparison to myself, like how I would normally dance, or, you know, I was always like beating myself up and trying to be better for me, you know? So I kind of take that into my business today as well.
You know what? And that's a great point you make right there, because that's a healthy one right there.
Yeah.
Compare yourself against yourself.
Yeah. And put yourself on a pedestal, because you're like, you are amazing. Like, you are up here. So...
But you also got to tear yourself down to grow again.
Yeah.
So it's a constant battle.
Yes, exactly.
It's like, know that, hey, foundationally, I am a talent. I do have this talent.
No one can give what you can give.
Exactly. And now it's up to you to, how can I improve for my last work to this, my approach, my systems, and everything that you do. That way you are continuously growing. And you also, it's good to reflect, see where you came from, where were you at in that scenario, what was your mindset, your goals, how has it evolved, compare that to where you're at now, and keep setting the new standard. That way you keep climbing and moving to your ultimate goal, not someone else's goal. Yeah. And that's key right there.
Definitely key. I have a question for you.
Ooh.
How do you feel about the phrase community over competition?
Wow.
Do you feel like it's overused? Do you feel like it's true? Do you feel like it's like kind of true? Do you feel like it's relevant in the wedding industry?
I think it's a relevant thing for sure.
Yeah.
I think I do believe in like the community over competition.
Definitely.
Because you're going to need help from the community to fulfill these weddings.
Yes.
You know, finding second shooters or having planners to send recommendations and all that. I think it's extremely important, extremely valuable.
Definitely.
And I don't like, at least for wedding videography, I won't speak to photography, but for videography, I do believe it's not really even a competition, because it's a flavor. Do you like my flavor or you don't?
Yeah.
You know, it's the way how I edit in
I think
the
it's the same way for photo too.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many different editing styles and so many different people. Like, how I communicate with you could be different than how you communicate with me, or, you know, our creative eyes and all of that stuff.
Yeah. So I wouldn't even see it as competition, to be honest, in that sense.
Yeah.
If I see another, hey, videographer, like,
definitely,
if I gave them my camera, they're going to use the camera in a whole, you know, a completely different way,
and all that stuff,
in different perspective.
Sure.
And so what it really does happen is that when you're in the community and you're helping one another and being genuine and having the right mindset, if you're going to second shoot for someone, you're introduced now to their system.
Yeah.
And that's going to give you a more broader perspective.
Definitely.
And exposure leads to expansion. It's going to allow you now to have a better comprehension and understand hey, another person's creative process. And
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from doing that in approaching like, hey, this is not competition, this is a community.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing.
Definitely. I totally agree. But our last topic is going to talk about social media and trends that come from social media. So how should we go about trends on a wedding day? Should social media
dictate that for your services, really?
Yeah.
And honestly, in my opinion, I think this is a hot take. Part of me is like, no, whatsoever. It shouldn't dictate your creative vision and what you have to offer, because that's the value that you're going to provide to your couple. And if you're following just the trends that everyone's putting out there, is that really how you see the world? Is that really how your artistic mindset and vision is? I know on the business side it will make sense because that's what's in, the fad.
What
it's
we
the trend.
want. That's what the couples want. You know what I mean? That's what they see all over Pinterest and they're going to be asking for. But is that really how you want to be documenting?
And exactly. And I think it's finding a balance, right?
Sure.
How do you serve, but also keep your artistry, the integrity to how you approach things, and being very honest and communicating like, hey, I don't make content creation type of reels. That's not what I do. I provide a trailer. I provide more of the excitement of the actual wedding day, what I documented.
Yeah.
I don't make social media clips.
Yeah. And even from like a client perspective too, is that they're constantly planning a wedding. They're on Pinterest all the time. They're on social media and they're seeing all these trends too and not really focusing on what they want as a couple either.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I feel like it kind of goes both ways of creatives. Yes, we need to be true to ourselves and document how we see the world, but also from a client, bride and groom perspective is don't do it if you don't love it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, again, this is a huge topic, but like, if those champagne towers are so popular, but like, do you even like champagne? Like, you know what I mean? Like, all of those things.
And honestly, this is going to be different for couples, right? And their goals and mindset from their weddings.
Definitely.
And then also the creative, right? What's their goals and their mindset and the services that they're offering? Because there's a lot of creatives that are going to treat it like a business. And hey, you tell me to do this, I'll do that for you. Sure. But then also there's a lot of creatives who are like, hey, this is who I am. This is my approach. If this resonates with you, hey, let's work together.
Yeah. And that's why building a good portfolio is
exactly. And communication.
Amazing. Yeah.
Your messaging, your marketing on the website, having those consultations. Couples, get on the call with your creatives. Please. This is your opportunity to vet them and to see if, hey, does this fit for my wedding day?
1,000,000%.
And if it doesn't, it's okay.
Yeah, there's nothing I love more than clients coming to me and being like, my Pinterest board is your portfolio. Like that to me is like
beautiful.
Like I love every second of that. I love when they do have Pinterest boards. I mean, I think that's really fun and exciting. I have a Pinterest board. I love that. Yeah. But like you should have full trust in your wedding vendors to complete the vision that you have given them.
Exactly. And it just goes in different ways, right? You just got to make sure that, hey, you're choosing the right person and they know that they know the goal of your wedding day.
Yes.
And they see, for example, if you're going to reach out to a videographer, because that's the industry I'm in and what I can speak to is, hey, we want a wedding film that represents us both. I've seen your work. I've seen your clips. And it just feels like I'm there. You capture the essence of the wedding day for these couples. And I can just genuinely feel and see the passion that you have in the way that you put these stories together. Yeah. This is a reason why I always have the questions like, hey, what do you like the most about my work?
Yeah, I love that question.
And once they put
it's one of my favorite on my questionnaire.
Hey, like we love how you capture the wedding day with authenticity and elegance. I'm like, wow, you resonate with my branding messaging. Like it's perfect. We're a great combination. Now we can speak to it more once we hop on a call. Definitely. And I ask them the question again, like, hey, why do you like it? You know, what about my work? And that gives me an insight now and sets the expectations of what it is that I actually do.
Definitely. I would say that really honing in on your craft, really being true to you is what's going to draw your ideal clients to you. If you are being so authentic to who you are, your branding, your creative eye, posting the things that you love, like your favorite images and all of that stuff is going to draw those clients to you. The people that you really want to work with, those people that value what you have to share, what you have to create, they're going to come to you from that.
Exactly. And it takes a lot of work.
You got to be yourself.
And a lot of effort and time.
In a world where you could be anybody, be yourself.
Exactly. And so put the work in. You got to step up the game.
Definitely.
Remove that comparison game. Compare yourself to yourself and what your goals are. And learning that, hey, it's an evolution. It's not like, hey,
Definitely.
this is it. I'm always here for the rest of my life. I'm at this position.
You're always growing. And that goes for everybody. And whether you've been in the industry for 10 years or 6 months, we are all constantly growing. We all learn new things every day, personal life wise and creatively wise, wedding wise, everything. So really just stepping back from social media, reflecting on who you are, what you have to give, and, really just honing in on, I got to be myself. These are my goals, and I'm not going to let what anyone else does dictate what I do.
Yeah, don't fall into the trap of the trends. I think it's good. Some trends are good.
Yeah, like, and they're really fun.
Like on the wedding video side, it's been more like posting little small clips of in between moments between the bride and groom, or like right after the ceremony, they're like having a private conversation talking to another, like, wow, baby, we just really got married right now. I can't believe this. That excitement, that's really cool. Like, that's a good trend right there.
Yeah, exactly. And we are all creative. So we all love when people are creative and come up with different ideas and really fun things. And we all love to play into that. But making it your own is what sets you apart.
Yeah. And making also what's realistic to a wedding day, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
not everything is doable on a wedding day,
right?
Or possible, or even...
And not everything is what the bride and groom want either.
Exactly.
Which, at the end of the day, you are being hired by them.
Exactly. And so ultimately, your messaging and your marketing are going to attract the people that you're wanting to work with, and also sharing them what is your approach and how you do these things. That way you don't fall into the trap of the trends. Mm-hmm. And if a couple is wanting to do things that are trendy, if they resonate with you, then you can do it. But if they don't, then just be clear and frank. I don't do that.
Yeah, I love it. So those are a couple of our favorite tips on how to get over comparison game. We know it's hard. We know that in an industry where we just want to better ourselves and looking at constant weddings, that it's going to happen. But these are some tips on how to set that mindset aside and really just dive into what we are really called to do.
So don't fall into the trap.
Don't do it.
Stay consistent to who you are.
Define your goals.
And keep evolving.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you guys for watching the 2717 podcast. We come at you the first 3 Mondays of the month. And Javi, where can they find you?
At sundial.creatives on Instagram.
And you can find me at Ashley Jade Photography LLC on Instagram and TikTok. And you can find us at 2717 podcast on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the whole 9. Leave us a review, and we can't wait to talk to you guys next time. Bye.